Oh, that's heavy. Yeah. Greetings once more and again, good people. Let's have some fun up in this piece. I'm enjoying this evening. I'm enjoying this vibe. I'm enjoying you. And I hope you are ready to be entertained, enlightened, and learn more about what you already know. It's the Online Happy Hour. It's your main man, Andy Brown, the life coach, the host, the author, and your certified firearm instructor. I play no games and I pull no punches, but I do make things happen, and I'm glad that you all are here. Shout out to all my folks who eat candy corn. I don't understand that at all, but I mean, hey, you are different. You do what you do. You have a unique place in this world, and we applaud everything that you believe in, even eating candy corn. So, yeah, welcome. For those of you who are watching for the very first time, please subscribe to the channel, which is iLife Radio on YouTube. Continue to follow the show right here on your Facebook platform, Instagram. You can follow me at Twitter at the hashtag or the @ Andy Brown Speaks. I'm here for you, man. I'm available. Definitely want to know what you all are doing. Let me know what's happening. The drink is not nasty. No, it's not. It's actually very good. Can't tell you what's in it because they don't pay me for it, and it is what it is. But I definitely want to thank you all for chiming in, man. My folks are in here live, getting it in. Share this with your friends, your family. Let's make some noise up in this piece. This is going to be a wonderful discussion topic. If you got some of last week, you got a great show. We got some people coming back. I got some great reviews, some great information, some good insight to keep the party going. As you see me rocking my alma mater, the Grambling State University's homecoming weekend. Shout out to all my folks who are going back to the yard on Exit 81 in Grambling, Louisiana. It's going to be some fun times down there. Trust and believe. Yeah. So let's dive off into this thing, man. If you have been paying attention to some stuff, you've been knowing what we do here on the Online Happy Hour. And as always, this show is brought to you by Feline Couture. Feline Couture is a clothing boutique and cosmetic brand based out of Atlanta, Georgia. For all things luxury and the ultimate in fashion persona, please visit feline-couture.com. Again, feline-couture.com. If you're struggling with the word couture, this probably isn't the brand for you. Again, next level, baby. They're doing it big time. Check it out. felinecouture.com. Get some of that. Ladies, check it out. It is what it is. And it's going to look so lovely on you because, yeah, you wear it well. So listen, this is good. You've been watching the news. You've been seeing some stuff. For those of you who do not put your phone down, even when you're on the toilet, you've been reading a few articles and you've been seeing some stuff that has been going on for the past 4 or 5 days now. For my folks who Netflix and chill, you've been watching a few videos and you've seen the latest Dave Chappelle Netflix video. We're going to talk about that. The NFL is going on tonight. The Eagles and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are playing tonight. So you know the NFL has some stories about Jon Gruden. We're going to talk about that. And this is also the NBA season. And you all know as well as I do, folks need to get vaccinated before they go watch the games and even play the games. So we're going to talk about that too. Community versus culture. Dave Chappelle, the closer. Jon Gruden, the NFL. Vaccination, Kyrie Irving. Pick and choose your poison, man. Let's talk about this tonight. Before we do, put the disclaimer out there. The thoughts and ideas displayed on the Online Happy Hour do not reflect those who have negative attitudes, piss poor judgment, or just want to troll without anything critical or any facts behind what they say. But what this show does reflect are those who are real, who are strongly opinionated, who believe in what they say, and understand that what we talk about on this platform must be addressed, must be heard, and deserves to be talked about and reconciled in our community. So let's talk about that. The confusing concerns of the cancel culture. I got folks chiming in later on today, but you know this lady, she's been moving and grooving for quite some time with us here on the Online Happy Hour. I got to get the title right. You know, like the Green Bay Packers of Lambeau Field, a pimp named Slickback. I got to say it all the right way or it doesn't make sense. This is the Sugarfoot herself, the CEO and co of SugarBabyCo.com, representing one more time and again on the Online Happy Hour. Miss D Major, how you doing?
Andy, you cannot get it right, can you?
You have such a long title. So what is it exactly?
It is not a long title. It is the co-CEO of SugarBabyCo.com.
Say it one more time for the people.
I am the co-CEO of SugarBabyCo.com.
Bless the Lord, you got it right. All right, let's get off into it, man. Welcome back, D. How you doing?
I'm mad at you because you talk bad about people who eat candy corn, and I love it so much. I love it with all my heart.
And it's like little orange teeth. It's just not.
I love it. If I had it right now, I'd be eating it live.
Bless the Lord. So let's dive off into this. We've been talking about this for quite some time. You've seen the news, right? Most of us have paid our phone bills this month, so we have had access to the internet. We have seen things that are coming and scrolling up and down our feeds. The culture is after the people, right? The community wants to cancel some things. Shit is out of control right now, and we don't really know where to go, where to start, where to begin, or even how to put some resolution to this thing. So let's talk about this, right? The confusing concerns of the cancel culture. First of all, if you don't mind, when you hear the term cancel culture, what comes to mind for you?
Zealotry.
Oh.
You know, I have different things really that come to mind. What'd you say?
Okay. I'm listening.
I have a couple things that come to mind. In some cases, I think accountability. And in other cases, I think it's just this evil machine of forced conformity in the political correctness realm. So, you know, it really depends on how it's being harnessed, cancel culture.
I get that. You have some people who just don't really think that there's anything wrong with that because we're desensitizing our community, right? We're just letting people know that, hey, that's offensive to me, and we shouldn't think that way nor speak in that manner. So cancel culture as a whole, for those who are just now really getting the grasp of it, cancel culture is kind of like a form of ostracism, if you will. They just want to throw you out because this group of people isn't comfortable with what you said, what you did on social media platforms, on in person, or just anywhere on your online, on your IoT devices. You're hearing people who are saying, I don't like that, and that's not cool. So they're going to combat and say, you shouldn't do that anymore.
I think it's more than just voicing displeasure. I think cancel culture is a weapon that's used to destroy people. And I also think that in some cases, cancel culture can radicalize people against groups and companies, and if those who are on the receiving end of cancel culture can be radicalized in potentially a dangerous way against the group that establish that cancel objective, you know. So I think that, you know, we have to be careful when we're using cancel culture. I think that we should lean more towards accountability, and it should be structured accountability and meaningful accountability. And I think always, as I've said in prior broadcasts that we've had about other discussions, that punishments should fit the crime. And I think that there's a lot of hypocrisy in cancel culture.
And I have to stand with you and agree with that, because you got people on here, man, that just want to, if they don't like it, they're in their emotions, they're having a bad day, it's not going to go right. You even see where Adrian made the comment, it's almost turning into a bully culture, kind of like what we heard last week with the young boy, the situation that happened in Mansfield, Texas, just a bit of bullying. So we don't want that anymore. So I'm not feeling it. I'm not feeling canceling everything, because this is how you think. This is how you thought. This is something in your mindset, in your psyche says you were okay with doing that.
Yeah, I mean, you know, and look at cancel culture and how it works. I mean, cancel culture will go back and pull things up on you. I mean, look at what happened with Kevin Hart in the Oscars. You know, in the Dave Chappelle special, he's talked about that many times. Not just in the recent special. You know, he's talked about it in the prior Netflix specials. What happened to Kevin Hart, and comments that he made, you know, before he even arose to the level that he's at, and how they basically, you know, forced him out of the Oscars because of comments that he made about, and I believe comments that he made in a comedic way about, you know, if his son were gay, you know, and when someone said bully culture, you know, I really agree with that in a lot of ways, because here you have this one entity, this one person, right, who really has no power. And I think that people, you know, we give, you know, if you give that much power to celebrity, then there's something wrong with you. You're falsely, that's false idolatry. You know, I speak against that. If, you know, if the celebrity has that much power over you and your psyche, there's something wrong with you. I'm saying that like just as plain as I can. If you worship the words of celebrities, there's something wrong with you. People as individuals are allowed to have thoughts and feelings, and they're allowed to speak on them. But when you have one entity that has a thought or a feeling, and then you have an entire machine, an entire culture, an entire group that targets that one entity to take it down for something that exacted no power directly over your life, but was just something that displeased you or hurt your feelings, that to me is an imbalance of power. And that to me is an egregious exertion of power to destroy someone. And I think that you're just as bad when you execute cancel culture.
I can dig that. And I appreciate you saying that. So people just got to realize you have to pick and choose your battles. And that's really what this is about. Pick and choose your battles and really don't dive off into this. I like what Adrian had to say. But here's another thing that we want to chime in on. Last week, Pastor Cedric Murphy was on board. You remember him? He's back on Mogan for a little bit, just more action. He couldn't resist. Cedric's on the line to chime in. What's going on, Ced? How you doing?
Hey, how you doing? Can y'all hear me?
Hi, Pastor.
Welcome back.
Hey, how you doing tonight?
Good.
Good.
So here's
y'all got some juicy stuff. Y'all got some juicy stuff going on tonight. I had to chime in for a little while. I'm out, but I might have to get off in a minute. But I want to get started with you guys.
Not a problem,
Awesome.
man. We're talking about the confusing concerns of the cancel culture. And what we're doing is we're really, really differentiating between community and culture right now. How has this affected you, what you've seen as far as, you know, what's going on with the culture of society, the cancel culture, if you will? Because I'm going to go into this Netflix special in just a minute.
Okay. I think it could be good. Cancel culture is good when it changes stuff that needs to be changed. When you got a dinosaur, you got something that's not moving fast enough, it's good. But I've seen it cause problems too, because people can use it. And watch this, because we talked about this last week, as a form of bullying. And so cancel culture, if you get with the crowd that don't like you, or certain groups are good at it because they lobby, and then sometimes they can unfairly affect somebody in a negative way. And I'm seeing that happening too. And I'm glad Dave Chappelle stood up. To be honest with you, I'm with Dave, because just like everybody else have their opinions of how they want to live, you can't punish me because I don't agree with the way you want to live. Just like it's okay for you to live the way you want to live, you can't punish me just because I say I don't agree. And so sometimes these powerful groups use cancel culture as they lobby together. They ruin people just because people don't agree with their. So hey man, it's good, but on the other hand, it's a two-edged sword. It's bad in a way too. I'm gonna be honest.
I like that. I'm glad you brought that up. Well, let's dive off into this special that Dave Chappelle did, right? The closing. He closed the show out. We had a great conversation going on. Somebody's chewing some gravel. What the hell is that going on? What is that doing? Is that you, Pastor? Is that you, D? Who's doing marble?
Can you mute?
Yeah, let me do that. Let me hit that right there. Okay, it must be on that side. Listen, if you didn't see Dave Chappelle's comedy stand-up, the closing, you missed out. He laid down some law. He talked about, of course, the LGBT, LMNO, alphabet, whatever that whole community is.
LGBTQ.
Who? Say it again.
LGBTQ community.
All of that. All of that. He talked about all of
Okay.
Mute the pat. It's reverb coming out of the pastor. Can you?
I don't even know how he did that. So okay. So I'm gonna come back to that. Here's what I want you to also hear talked about. He talked about celebrities, himself, right? Sodomy, which was utterly disgusting. He talked about Black America, and we laughed at that, and that wasn't canceled, right? So with the cancel culture, it's like we're offended by what you said about the community, but we're not really offended by what you said about Black America. So how, ladies and gentlemen, can we have a cancel culture who says, I only want to cancel what I feel I'm sensitive about? Awkward, is it not?
Well, one of the last things that Dave Chappelle said in the closer was that if you ever truly listen to him and his comedy, then you would understand that in all of those Netflix specials, his complaint was not about the LGBTQ community. It was about white people. And that's very, very important, because the way that the LGBTQ community is responding to Dave Chappelle's shows, it almost, to me, it feels like the new face of white supremacy. Because, within the spectrum of LGBTQ, there are different, demographics that apply. There are minorities, there are Latinos, there are Blacks, there are females, there are males, but there are whites as well. And, there have been reports even within the LGBT community of racism amongst each other. So they're not even truly tribesmen amongst each other when you talk about incidences of racism and discrimination within their own subculture. And, Dave Chappelle, he's talking about, several things. One, the conflating of experiences with discrimination and oppression amongst the varying groups, particularly the Black community and the and the white community, and those and many of the white community are also members of the LGBTQ. And then he's talking about how, in society, what I received from it is we can identify the heterosexual face of white supremacy. But white supremacy within the LGBTQ realm comes in like a Trojan horse, because here you have a group of disenfranchised people, but there's still elitism within that group. And that group of elites within that group have a lot of power, and they wield that power. Dave Chappelle gave a great example in one of his Netflix special, Sticks and Stones, where very early in the special, he talked about when he was doing the Dave Chappelle show, he was doing a skit where they have some type of checks and balances system, as that kind of regulates what you're allowed to say on air. And he wanted to do a sketch where he used the word faggot. And they called him in and said, you can't use this word. And Dave Chappelle said, why not? And they said, because this word is offensive to people. And he said, okay. And then he started to walk out and he turned around. He said, but I can say bitch and I can say nigga, because he says that all the time. And they said, well, yeah, because, and he said, well, why can't I say faggot if I can say bitch and nigga? And they said, because you're not a part of this community. He said, well, I'm not a nigga either.
Yep. And
that was very, like that spoke volumes to me, because he's pointing out the hypocrisy is that, you can degrade Black people all day long. When you look at hip hop culture and if you turn on a country Western music video, you don't see big booty hoes, in butt injection in a country Western video. But you see this negative depiction of Black life, Black people, Black women. You see this hypersexualization of Black women. You see these things in the Black culture that are just, the imagery is just all about degrading us as a people. And this is never canceled. This is never a problem for anybody. But
I've been trying to tell y'all that
from a gay person, you're shut down. And there's something extremely hypocritical about that.
Absolutely right. I've been saying that for the longest. Even with you mentioned, you hit it right on the head with Chappelle, what he talked about. Adrian said this also. Dave said they pick and choose. Well, it's supposed to be pick. I got you. Pick and choose when they want to be gay and when they want to be white, because you can toggle back and forth, right? It is very, very eye-opening to say that this cancel culture wants to cancel issues that are relative to the sensitive mindset, and only that which is sensitive in that community, not the culture, but the community. See, folks, you didn't understand. A community is just a small engagement of what people are. A culture is just the way that people do things. So it's a slight difference in between. Almost sounds like it's almost kind of the same, but it's not necessarily. And we have to understand that the level of differentiator that is between calling someone an N-word or an F-word or a derogatory statement is only sensitized by what we allow to be sensitive. And that's the part that's not cool. I'm digging this conversation, man. If y'all are chiming in, please weigh in on this one. Shout out to Miss Joanne for watching the show. My Facebook followers, my YouTube followers as well. Click on this link, man. Share this page. Share this dialogue. It's very easy to do. I challenge you to be a part of this and say what's on your mind. So we're talking about that with the cancel culture. And watch this now. We kind of slide off into the NFL. Right now, there's a game on. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the Philadelphia Eagles. Why do I even bring that up? Because at one point in time, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, not only did they win the Super Bowl last year, but like in 2000, they won with the particular head coach, John Gruden, who used to be the head coach of the Oakland/Los Angeles/Las Vegas Raiders. Why is this important? Because last week, this man was released from his job, and the NFL as a whole, they took his name out of the Ring of Honor. Really. Because he said derogatory words towards the commissioner of the NFL. Called him a faggot, called him gay slurs, and this went back the 10 years. 10 years. Offensive emails about the community. Y'all follow me so far, my listeners? So what happened is they took his place. They said, nope, we're going to let you go. Actually, he resigned, but the pressure was weighing so heavy. He said he didn't want to draw more attention to his team and the league and things of that nature because he said those words. Now, mind you, that was offensive enough for him to lose his job year 4 of a 10-year contract, which is unfucking heard of in the NFL. So they let him go because he used derogatory comments about that. Not as a coach where over what? I think damn near half the NFL is Black American, and we're throwing the N-word out there like some freaking tissue, but there's no negative setback for us saying the N-word on the field, and there's no flag or penalty being thrown for that. That is a freaking problem. That is where we have the differentiator of the culture and the community. Because the culture says the N-word and they're flipping with it all day long. The community says, I don't like you saying this word, so we need to come together and get rid of you as a whole. But the N-words who are running around here, we're just careless and fancy free. It's just a word. We're not offended by it. The fuck is that? That's a problem.
You know, I think there's just, I mean, at the end of the day, I think that we're fighting the wrong battles far too often. The bigger issue to me is not what people say and how they feel about me. Something that, the company I work for often, totes is diversity and inclusion. And I always say that that's a smokescreen in a mirror, and it means absolutely nothing. Diversity and inclusion is about making people feel good. Okay. Mm-hmm. But it speaks nothing to equality and equity. And I always say that that is the bigger battle that we need to be fighting. I don't care what a coach says. I don't care what Dave Chappelle says. People can speak their truth. That the human experience is subjective. Mm-hmm. It's an individualized experience. Mm-hmm. We are a culmination of all of these experiences. And so you may hate Black people, you may hate white people. I know, my father didn't go to school with a white person until his senior year of high school because he grew up in Jim Crow. So my father's perspective on white people is going to be dramatically different than mine. Okay. So, you're a culmination of everything that went into that pot that made you you, and that's fine. That's fine. I don't care how you feel about me. What I care about is when I get pulled over by a cop, am I going to have the same experience as my white counterpart? When I get hired for a job, am I going to get the same pay as my white counterpart? When I try to buy a home, am I going to experience discrimination and unfair housing practices? We need to start talking about the right thing, which is equity and equality, and equity being the even most important part between the two. And we need to stop getting sucked into this feel-good special, this, Lifetime movie special called Diversity and Inclusion that makes everybody appear to get along and feel happy while you still have the overarching problem, which is white supremacy running everything in this country, even in the LGBT. It's like, it constantly evolves. During Jim Crow, it was overt. It was the law of the land. It was in your face. During slavery, it was overt. The civil rights movement, and then it became behind closed doors racism, and it became more institutionalized than ever before. It was the criminal justice system, the education system. Oh Lord. You have it, and it's evolving into this, into another medium, and we're just so focused on the wrong thing. And I feel like we need to have a complete shift in our mindsets as people if we're ever going to overcome this crap.
Beautiful. Let's have a shift and then bring somebody else online. I like the way you did that because you talked about a few things. You sprinkled some stuff in here. Let's bring on a gentleman who has been waiting for some things to get sprinkled and talk about this for real. By way of Chicago, by way of Atlanta, Georgia, Mr. Brent Felix is joining us right now. Brent, what's going on, fam? How you doing?
Hey, how you doing? How you doing? I'm doing excellent. I'm doing excellent.
Welcome to the online happy hour. We're talking
Hi.
about the confusing concerns of the cancel culture. Ugh.
Well, I've
Hear what Dean
heard
had to
something.
say. So, Brent, what did you hear before I dive off into this?
One thing I just heard her say is that you know that that racism in a way was kind of like is like masked and glossed over,
Hmm.
and that kind of buried in a certain way, but it's never really been buried. You know why it's never really been buried? Because it's never been buried in our minds. So it's never been buried. And kind of my history, Andy. I went to a private um boarding school for about 3.5 years of my life, and so yeah, this diversity thing it's really 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 funny. I think
Okay.
I told you recently that that my boarding school wrote a diversity statement in one of the letters that they send out to everybody, in the universe. And I called them out on it. I told them, I said, well, where's the diversity? You know, I was what 300. I was one of the three black students out of 300 people at the school at that particular point in time. So where did the diversity come from? You know, so you treated me well because of my money, not because you wanted to treat me well or you
Yeah.
had to treat me well. You treated me well because I was intelligent and my parents were intelligent and they had the money to match it. That's why you treated me well, not because there was no racism. So yeah, so like that. That's a part that keyed in on what she said that I was listening to.
Very cool. For those that don't know Mr. Brent Felix, Brent, kind of give these folks a little bit of background about who you are, what you do, and what's going on with you wherever you. Where are you right now? You're somewhere in America because
I'm
you're
in I'm in Brownsville, Indiana, which is about 21 miles west of Indianapolis right now.
okay.
And in our so-called white America.
About diversity. He's in Indianapolis. Um,
No, Indiana has some diversity. Well, somewhat, in certain places. But anyway, um, where, where it's allowed. But anyway, so me myself, I started out in the telecommunications industry, and I and the social service arena early on in my life, and
mhm.
later on, I got into real estate. Real estate led me into financial services. So now, basically, what I do is about 15 years ago, I started showing African American people how they could become wealthy by opening and operating their own tax businesses. And then I actually created the Backbone Network to do so, which other people were really making the money on before I came along.
Very cool.
But
Very cool.
now,
Even,
but now I
even
now I help it. I help a lot of people learn how to make money, open their own businesses, be entrepreneurs, and things of that nature. That's what I do.
glad to have you on the show, man. Thanks for making time. Even in what you're doing, because you're reaching out, you're helping people. There's a lot of uh, targeting of what your profession speaks of, right?
Hmm.
So even in that, you have to weed out a few who may or may not fit that particular audience.
Of
There's
course.
a solid community that you're reaching out towards. Do you find yourself, even in what you're doing with your profession, having to tell others, no, you can't be a part of this, or no, you're not welcome in this particular community
No,
of what you're trying to
I
build?
don't. You know what I do is I'm a solutions person. Sometimes what you have to do is you have to listen. Not sometimes, most times you have to listen to people first.
Mm-hmm.
Because sometimes what people will do is You know, what's that old fashioned saying? Your eyes are bigger than your stomach. You know, you believe you can do it, but it may not match your skill set. You need to find out what will match your skill set and go in that direction.
Hmm.
You know, so
I can
that so
dig it.
no, I don't so I don't I so I've never told anybody that you can't do something. You might not be able to do what I do or what the next person do, but let's find out what you can do. And I used to do that when I used to when I used to mentor school age children in the city of Chicago, and I do that now in Atlanta. And I said,
Very
well, let's
cool.
find out what you can do, because there's enough out there talking about what you can't, what you can't do, you're not supposed to do, you're not supposed to. There's enough of that out there.
Right on. Pastor Murphy's trying to get back in there. Hold on, Brent. Stick around for
Okay,
just 1 second.
sure.
Cedric, I don't know where are you at, man? You on the balcony? Looks like a little Martin Luther King hotel. What you know with your phone? I
It
don't
looks
know
like
what.
it kind of fell out of his hand.
Yeah, maybe he didn't know what was going on. Can
Oh
you
yeah,
can you hear us,
that's.
Cedric? Can you hear us? Perhaps not.
I think he might have put on his mute by accident and dropped his
Okay,
phone.
that's okay. I can come back to that. The confusing concerns of the cancel culture. Ugh. And I say confusing for so many reasons, folks. This is blowing my mind because we're picking and choosing what's going on. We talked about Dave Chappelle, right? We talked
Hmm.
about the community is going a little bit overboard because it's a little bit sensitive, if you will. Maybe, perhaps not. I talked about a little bit about the NFL. You saw some of the comments that were said on the post as well. But even not even when we're talking about sports and lifestyle, but we also have to look at our health with the vaccine that's being going around, right? That is
Hmm.
like the ultimate group community culture of everything that we're speaking about, because everybody can
Hmm.
play the part and be classified in the you are vaccinated or you're not vaccinated. So what I want to go with that is, let me keep it on this level. There's an NBA player, I don't know if you all familiar with him or not. He went to Duke. Brother had a couple movies out, and he recently stated that he is not going to be vaccinated and is choosing not to be vaccinated while the entire NBA must be vaccinated before they can actually play or participate in any of the games or activities for this upcoming NBA season.
Hmm.
One, for their health, right? Of course. Two, because the league said so.
Hmm.
And three, there are certain cities that you cannot go into throughout the United States that if you are unvaccinated, they will not let you in or be a part of uh, the community,
Hmm.
right? I know you all are
Hmm.
aware of San Francisco, New
Right.
York. So being that he plays for the Brooklyn Nets, you can't go into New York without being vaccinated uh, in some of these arenas. He
Hmm.
feels as if, well, I don't want to take the vaccine. I'm good. I'm okay over here. I'm
Mm.
not jeopardizing myself to take the
Hmm.
vaccine. I don't want to be a part of that. So he
Hmm.
feels as if, hey, I don't want to take it. But now
Hmm.
you have a community and a culture that says, oh my God, he's so wrong. He shouldn't do that. Why is he jeopardizing the team? Why is he only looking out for himself? This is a team effort. He's an athlete. He should do it. COVID cases are steadily rising. Yes, indeed. We know that to be true. But do you all believe? And I'll start with you, Pastor Cedric. I'll go with you. I'll go to D, and I'll come back to Brent on this one. Do you all believe that even if you get the vaccination, that the vaccination must be mandatory, or do we all have the right to say, whether or not we want to take that vaccine? Cedric, what do you think about that? A little louder. A little louder. You're unmuted, but you can go. I don't know what's going on. Can we hear you?
Maybe he needs to sign out and sign back in.
Probably so.
Yeah.
Yeah. come back and come back in because I don't know what it is. I can hear you. What about now? Nah, I can't do it. Let's try it again. Let's ladies first. Come on, let me talk to D on this one. I have a little sound issues with that. D, what do you think about that? Do you think that this should be mandatory, or to have their choice when it comes to the vaccine?
You know, I'm truly a flip-flopper when it comes to the vaccine. On the one end, you know, you hear about these variants that it doesn't matter if you're vaccinated or not, you can still get COVID because of the evolution of this virus. So my thought is, why does it matter if you're vaccinated or not if you can still catch COVID? And if the point of the vaccination is to, what is the point of the vaccination? It's not really stopping the spread, is it? And if it's stopping you from getting as deathly ill, then it's a personal choice. If you want to play Russian roulette with your life, and risk getting, the worst case, intubator and all that stuff of COVID, then, that's your choice, because other people have the choice to reduce their exposure or their risk by getting the vaccination. I also, but I also understand the greater public health concern. I think about other vaccinations that we have, MMR, measles, mumps, rubella, and all those things that we get when we're kids in order to go to public school. And I know that there are some schools that if you don't have those vaccinations, you can't participate in public schooling. But I'm not really sure, where does the law stand on those required vaccinations? Because I think whatever the precedent is on this already established standard vaccinations that most Americans have, I think that the COVID vaccination should just be parlayed right on over into that standard, into that metric. And I think, once you do that, then all of this resistance is, if you have all of those vaccinations, what exactly is your problem with the COVID vaccination? That's kind of the thing I just really don't understand with people who are anti-vaxxers. And of course, I understand people in the Black community, they have a lot of historical trauma with the medical community and the experimentation that have been done on Black people. So they have an inherent fear of vaccinations. They have an inherent fear of anything that's coming from the government, from cops to MAGA supporters, to vaccinations. I get that. But again, if your mom took you to the pediatrician at, 6 months old and you got all those other vaccinations, then I'm not really sure what the problem is. But at the end of the day, I think that, we as people should have the right to decide what's injected into our bodies or not. Whether I agree with you, I think that we as people have the right to decide what's injected into our bodies. That being said, you don't have the right to control how people interact with you because of the choice that you made. So if people don't want to allow you into their venues, they don't want to employ you, they don't want to do those things, they have that right to take that action to protect. It's just like if your boss requires you to wear a uniform, this is their company. They have the right to make these expectations, so, it's really, I really teeter-totter on it, because I can see it from both viewpoints.
I can see that, but keep in mind, you can take that uniform off. Aha.
You can.
What's your take on this?
You said, what's my take on it?
Yeah, what's your take on that? Do you think it's going to be mandated or personal choice?
Well, okay. As she was talking, I was thinking about this. Well, first and foremost, when most of those vaccines that we got as children were put into us, or had it not been for the real development of public health, we wouldn't have gotten them in the first place, because they were not. We were not the subject of their precise usage. First and foremost. Okay. So it was the other races, and we're going to take a couple particular out because I've had a conversation with several Jewish friends of mine about this too, and we're going to take them out for a second. Okay, so, but I just had a conversation with a lady that lives in my building, and she's a Hindu Indian. Her whole family is Hindu Indian, so we're gonna exclude them too. Now, so we take it back in history. Who were the people that were suffering from these diseases? That were actually suffering from these diseases and had the scientific knowledge to know that they were suffering from these diseases. It wasn't us, right?
Okay.
So when you look at that, that factor, I look at it as really before the black, whether there were experiments done. Like I said, I talked to some a couple of Jewish friends of mine. They had a lot of experiments done on them too.
Mhm.
Okay, and even though a lot of times us as black people like to lump them in as white people, they're not. Not the white people that really should be the white people. But anyway, so even before all of that, all of this is really their culture war to me, to be honest with you.
Okay.
Because what they're doing is they're letting other people once again kind of rule what they do and how they live and how they die. Our immune systems are very strong. I don't know if a lot of people know that, but our immune systems are very strong anyway. But like I said, on the flip side, now that the world has progressed and a lot of the different cultures are intermingling and really and mixing in a very cosmic way, it does bring to the fact of well, yeah, like I agree that now we're having to make this choice as adults. When we were kids, other adults had made those choices and we just went along with it, or other types of laws or rulings or whatever. But when now that our minds have evolved and developed fully, now that brings upon that pause, like, really,
So,
should I? You get what I'm saying?
I do. I want to bring this comment up. Adrian brought this up, and this is for both of you. You can look at this and say, he says, our mothers took us to go get those vaccines. We didn't know what we didn't know. We didn't have a choice back then.
I think that's beside the point, because there are things that we do know about. I mean, I know when I was in college, I had to get, I think, what was it, a tetanus shot or something when I started college. It was some vaccination. We've had to do these things even into our adulthood. When we go into certain institutions, they have requirements that we conform to. And look, there's a lot of fear about this vaccination and people, oh, what's in the vaccine? Or, what are you injecting me with? Let me tell you something. If there's some agenda for genocide or to destroy groups of people or to poison us, it's already in full effect. And they never needed COVID to do it, because everything that we eat is so damn toxic. Okay. It's highly addictive. It's toxic. They're already killing us. It's called diabetes. It's called cancer. So, I mean, this assertion that, the COVID is the thing that's going to wipe out human, they've already been doing it. So all of this fear mongering and speculation and all of that, I mean, look, you already have no control. You really don't. I mean, I'm not really sure what fight people think that they're winning here. There's not a fight to be won. They already won it when we were born, when our mothers, even if it wasn't our choice, when our mothers took us to get those shots, we were being injected with something that we had no idea what's being put in our bodies. We don't know if it's a microchip or some dormant disease that'll pop up on our 58th birthday and wipe us out. We don't know. There's speculations that immunizations cause autism. You know, I mean, we have speculated since the beginning of time about things that big government is doing to population control, to commit genocide, to compound their supremacy over people. So what are you fighting for? I feel like people lack emotional intelligence, and they want to feel like they're taking a stance against something, and they're focusing on the wrong things because they're just removing common sense from the whole picture. And I'm just honestly, my patience for it is starting to just go down. Just get the damn shot. You're already injected with a million things that can kill you. When you walk outside and you breathe the air, you're being poisoned as we speak. We're sitting here being poisoned with all the pollutants in the air as we speak.
Right.
Go get the damn shot. Stop crying and get the damn shot. You're not going to stop mass destruction.
But my thing is, and you're right, but what was the purpose? But see, the thing is that, someone asked me this question in college. It's like, what is the purpose of medicine? What is the purpose of the longevity of life?
Oh, that's a great question. It's to create dependency and to make money off of us, because nobody is ever in the business of curing people. They're in the business of putting Band-Aids on problems and to keep you coming back and to feed into this corrupt system so that everything is driven by evil, by greed, by money, by capitalism. And at the end of the day, we're just pawns on this chessboard. We have no power.
Well, there are some people that would differ, and they would say that they have a choice. It's their body. They don't want anybody to tell them that something needs to go in their body, what it may be. Their burgers, their shoes, their clothes, the vaccines. Some people teeter to the fence. Others just really aren't sure what to do. It's a lot of ignorance. We're moving in a world of society that is very ignorant. I made a post on social today, and the great Stevie Wonder wrote a song about superstition. When you believe in things that you don't understand, then you suffer. We just can't go around believing anything and everything. Talk to your physicians, do your own research, find out what's going on. You have the resources here in the information age to better yourself and get yourself in a position to increase your own knowledge base. It should happen. It has to happen. And I think a lot of us we're just very sensitive. We're very sensitive about how we respond to things and what we eat and who we're around. And I don't want to offend this person, and I don't want them to make fun of me, and I don't want to be disliked. I want to be with the in crowd. But again, social media, and you all know this as well as I do, that we are living in a society based on followers. Your Facebook.
And likes. Followers and likes.
Yeah. They all have, we just want to feel as if we're a part of something that we may not be really knowing what it is. We feel empowered to be a part of it.
Well, that's interesting what you say, because you say we're all really sensitive, and I don't even know if it's sensitivity so much as that we feel powerless and we're angry. Just speaking to what I just said, you said choice. We want to exact our choice to not do something. But like I said, you have no choice in so many arenas. So you think you're taking your powerful stance on this one little thing, but this one little tree is not protecting you from the massive forest that's around you, that's puppeteering your entire existence. So, and I think that people are just internally, they recognize their powerlessness, and we're angry. And so the way that we exact what feels like a false sense of power is to take it out on the wrong things and the wrong people in the wrong ways. Because in that moment, we feel like we've galvanized and we've exacted some change, and we've checked you, we've shut something down. But at the end of the day, the overarching force, that umbrella that's over us, it's still puppeteering our existence. We're still being controlled by unjust laws. We're still being manipulated by corrupt institutions. We're still being subject to all these things. So, I mean, the question is, power. And I think that the way that we get power is we stop having all of this infighting and all of these like stupid conversations about personal choice, and let's start amassing power. And the way to amass power is to get control over infrastructure. Like the gentleman here that we're talking to, I'm sorry, I forgot your name, but
Brent.
Brett. Hi, Brett. I'm so sorry. But, Brett was talking about teaching people about the tax codes, about having your own businesses. I mean, this is where you amass power, because then you start controlling entities. You start controlling businesses. If your infrastructure is farming and you're controlling the food source, if you're controlling the imports and exports, if you're controlling the power plant, that's where power is. And so we need to start focusing on the right things. If we want to control our variables and control our existence as a human and our rights and our choices, then we need to start focusing on how to amass power and stop sitting around crying and whining and infighting over things that at the end of the day, it's going to go their way.
Mm-hmm.
Big Brother's way, it's going to go their way at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm.
When do you agree with that?
I do agree that that we do have to just wrangle in our destiny. We and that is very 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 important. And sometimes it's hard for some people to lead instead of being led. Because I feel, and I've always kind of felt this way. I don't know what somebody agrees or not, but I think that sometimes a lot of people they have succumbed to feeling more comfortable being led than leading.
Of course.
No,
Followers.
Right? It's the followers, exactly. Right.
They
It's easier.
pride in what they choose to follow and who they follow. The blockers, the people who say, well, I don't want to follow this person, I'm going to block them. I took my power.
Right.
Or there are people who are out there that say, I don't want to watch this movie, I don't want to subscribe to this network, I have my power. My money's not going to go. If I want to go a different direction to go to the store, I'm going to drive this road, not the other road. I have my power. But we don't take that same mindset when it comes to coming together to build and help the community. You all both hit on some key points, and I like the fact that we can look at it that way. One of the things that I really enjoy about this weekend for my alma mater is our homecoming weekend. The people get together and we stand together and we agree with having fun, enjoying each other's time. There was a foundation that was built during these college years, and it's just so many memories that brought people together. We continue to go back to those homecomings, and that's just what it is. It's a homecoming. We're getting together again because this is where we felt a great need. I learned more. I was empowered. I was strengthened in this place and in this realm. Shout out to my alma mater, Grambling State University, because our homecoming is fucking live, and I love it. It's not because of the location. It's because of the people. We come together. We empower, we grow. Generations and generations and generations, we do that. We should do that right with what you're saying, Brent, with our community, doing that together, empower, giving back to the community, and keeping people stronger. If there is a certain culture that can do that on a regular basis, and they're proving, look at the power that they have put behind to say that even though we're going to stand together and we don't agree with this, it put an entity out of an occupation. So just imagine if our community and our cultures would come together and enhance and harness that power and stand together. Because we have a difficult time agreeing on the small thing, right? Do you want curly fries or regular fries, right?
Curly fries.
Do you want to get vaccinated or non-vaccinated? It's the small things like that. If we can come together and say, this is what we want, and this is what we're going to stand for, and we'll accept nothing less. If the N-word is an issue for some and not for everybody, then we're going to continue to have issues.
Right.
The community has spoken. We don't want to be talked about. It's a beautiful thing. I get it. I totally get that part of it. But what they're canceling, not so much.
Yeah.
It all. I definitely want to thank you both for your time, chiming in. I'm a little bit out of time right now, but definitely, folks, send some love, send some likes to D for chiming in. Definitely thank you for making this a part of your routine for the week. Brent, I know this was your first time joining in on the online happy hour. Please do not let this be your last.
Oh, no, it won't be.
Absolutely, absolutely. Folks, please, without a shadow of a doubt, we know how we can grow a community. We know how we can share with one another, to one another, and for one another. Share the link, right? You heard what Dee had to say. I know you were loving it. Share what she had to say, right? Put her information out there. I know you heard what Brent had to say. Share this link, right? Pass the information along. That is how the community comes together, because now we can say, I heard this and I agree with this. I want to share with this particular entity to hear what I heard. I heard this and I wasn't quite sure if I liked it or not. Why don't you listen to it and give me your feedback? That's where we come together. We build, we enhance, we educate, we edify, and we continue and we continue and we continue to just get better and better and better each and every week. And I want to thank you all for making time to do that. Shout out to my alumni, my Grambling State University homecoming family and friends. For those who are going to making that trip, please be safe on the road. Get home safe. Enjoy yourself. Do what you do it great. Go do it together. I thought you knew. I thought I loved you. I thought this is everything that we come together for. Man, it's beautiful. Shout out to my football team, my family. That is what I go back for, man. It's homecoming. My brother, my cousins, those who are still there, lots of family members who are gone and passed, but I love y'all, man. I just appreciate everybody for making time. And if you got some good game out of this show, man, please do me a favor. Tell 5 more people to tune in with you next week, next Thursday, 7 o'clock Central Standard Time, right here on the Online Happy Hour. Living vicariously through you, man. I love it. I'm thankful. I'm blessed. I appreciate it. And this is the Online Happy Hour with your main man, Andy Brown, getting down right here. Peace, blessings, love. Have a great evening. GSU, I thought you knew. Let's get it. Let's have some fun. And I'm going. It's the Online Happy Hour right here on this platform. Love you. Peace. I'm out. Happy hour. Oh, yeah.